What's up guys, in today's video I'm going to take a look at a mag-fed manually operated Nerf pistol called the S200S Viper, made by the company ZWQ. This blaster was sent to me by Zenduo Toys, and from them it came fully assembled in the box, but I think it depends who you buy it from because I've seen some other retailers selling it disassembled. Maybe that helps with getting it through customs, I'm not 100% sure, but Zenduo Toys sell it fully assembled for 133 Australian dollars or 89 US dollars. From what I've seen, there's 4 different color options for the S200S, and compared to the original S200, they're all opaque instead of transparent. Some of you might like that, some of you might not. I thought the clear was kind of cool to show other people how it works, but the opaque definitely looks better to actually use. Now, the blaster itself is made fully of nylon, and externally it's less blocky in shape than the original. It has nice smooth edges and stylistic patterns on it, and overall I think the S200S looks like a more premium blaster than the original S200 did. Out of the box, mine was only shooting around 100 feet per second, which I thought was pretty low, so the first thing I did was crack it open and see about improving it. To open the blaster, it's much simpler than the original. First, remove a screw below the front muzzle of the pistol, then simply pop out the 2 pins located above the grip. Make sure you push them out the same way they went in because each end of the pin has knurling on it to help hold it in place. If you push that knurling into the blaster, you're going to strip out some plastic and make those pins not stay in anymore. With the pins removed, the entire upper separates from the lower frame, which means this is much easier to open than the original S200. Contained within the upper, you have the plunger tube or cylinder, which is what I'm going to be focusing on here. Sliding back the cylinder, you can remove the piston and the mainspring. And the first thing I did was actually lubricate the cylinder. Quite often, a Nerf blaster out of the box won't have enough lube in it, and you can actually improve performance just by adding some more lube, whether it dries out in shipping or the manufacturer just doesn't put much in. Then, after having a look through my collection of springs, I found a 10 kilogram longshot spring from the old Turf Blaster Springs brand fit perfectly. But if you're having trouble finding something to fit yourself, ZWQ and a lot of the retailers stocking this blaster will sell you a 1.6 upgrade spring designed specifically for it. Zenduo just didn't send me one with this blaster, so I made do with what I had. Now, putting the upper back together with the lower frame is a little bit tricky. You need to keep the slide release, a rear plastic block, and the trigger all aligned as you reattach the upper. When you think you've just got it correct, make sure you give the trigger a quick test before putting the pins back in. And finally, tighten that screw under the muzzle when you are sure. A quick note, I did not touch the air seal of the blaster, and out of the box and even after modifying, I don't have any semblance of an air seal. Maybe that's something you could look at yourself, but I didn't really bother with it. All I did was lube and upgrade the spring. Before I show you how hard it's shooting now, let's go over operation of the blaster. The magazine holds 10 shots and it's best to push down with one hand and slide a dart in with your other hand rather than just squishing them in from the top. Insert the magazine into the grip of the blaster, which has a very slight flare to it to help guide you in, and then when you're ready to use the blaster, cock back the slide and release. Inside the slide it has a return spring, so all you have to do is let go of it, you don't have to actually push it forwards after cocking it. Now this is a manual blaster, so each time you fire a shot you do need to recock the slide, which will also load your next shot in for you. And a kind of cool little feature they've added to this is if you look down from the top, there's actually a little window where you can see your next dart being loaded. When you've fired your last shot of the mag, cocking back the slide will actually lock it in place. This has 2 benefits. Obviously, it lets you know when you're out of ammo, but it also means you can simply drop your empty mag out, slot a fresh one in, and then hit the slide release lever, and it will automatically chamber your first dart for you. Occasionally, I ran into an issue where the slide wouldn't close all of the way, and I had to give it a little bit of a push with my thumb. At first I thought maybe the rings on bamboo darts were causing this, and getting stuck on something, but after removing the barrel and seeing that the darts don't actually get loaded all the way into the barrel anyway when it's firing, I realized it was doing this with every single type of dart. In the end, I found out the cause was actually loading the mag to 10 shots, and if I only loaded 9 shots, the slide closed flawlessly every time. So if you want to be able to just hit the slide release and have the slide close perfectly every time, I'd recommend just going to 9 shots in the mag rather than a full capacity of 10. One other issue you might run into is if you try to use 38mm darts. The magazine seems to be designed for shorter 36mm darts, so Dart Zone's bamboo darts or any of the newer batches of worker darts are what I'd recommend. If you do try to use older 38mm ones, they can get stuck in the mag and prevent feeding. So now that we've discussed operation, let's test to see how fast this thing's shooting over a chronograph, remembering that stock standard out of the box it was only shooting 100 feet per second.
186, 176, 171, 194, 186, 197, 190, 190, 174, 192, and that's all 10.
Over the chrono, I got a high of 197, low of 171, and an average of 185. Quite impressive for a small little mag-fed Nerf pistol. It's hitting similar velocity numbers now as a full-size rifle platform like the Dart Zone Pro series using the same darts. Next, I want to quickly discuss mounting a sight to this thing. For most people, I realize you'll probably never bother because it does have molded front and rear iron sights after all. But because I'm going to be doing an accuracy test of this thing, I decided to put an RMR sight on there. On top of the slide, there's 4 mounting holes, and my particular RMR only uses 2 of those, so I chose the rear 2. I think having 4 holes should help it fit most styles of RMR, particularly the cheap Fleabay ones like I'm using. You do need to tap your own threads by pushing down on the screws as you fasten them into the blaster, and I also reckon that if you kept removing and reattaching the sight over and over, eventually you'd strip those threads that you've just created. So I think just keep the sight on or don't use one at all. At the bottom of the muzzle, there's also a short segment of Picatinny rail. It's here that you can mount a flashlight or even a camera to the blaster. I wouldn't recommend a laser sight though, unless you're just plinking at targets. Definitely never shine a laser at other players. The trigger guard, you might have noticed, has a bit of an odd shape to it. This is designed to clip into a holster that you buy separately, designed specifically for the S200. I think that's pretty handy for anyone who wants to run this as a secondary. Personally, I never run a secondary when I play. I just use the one blaster for everything, so when I use this, I use it as a primary. There is one thing about this blaster though that I think is a downgrade from the original, and that is the grip. The original S200 had a rubber sleeve over the grip, while the S200S has a stippled plastic grip. So that means the newer version has a less comfortable grip on bare hands, although if you wear gloves, you probably won't even notice the difference. One final change from the original S200 is that they've done away with those metal clips on the side of the slide. I don't think they even really served a purpose on the original though. The return spring was strong enough that it always held the slide closed for me, so I think it was a good choice to remove them if they're not doing anything but making it look worse. So now, let's test the accuracy of my modified S200S. I'll be starting from 20 meters away from the target, and if it shoots well, then I'm going to step back to 30 meters. Okay, so about a 50 centimeter spread at a distance of 20 meters, so let's now step it back to 30 meters.
Okay guys, so I figured out from 30 meters away, I have to aim pretty much halfway up this tree that's behind the target. Alright, let's see if we can actually hit it. Hit. I'll show you where I'm aiming afterwards. We just missed to the left. Just missed to the right.
From a distance of 30 meters, the spread was much wider at about a 1.2 meter spread. But let's show you on my other camera how high into the tree I had to aim to actually hit the target at 30 meters.
So if this is your target here, where I had to aim was where this branch forks off to the left just here, in the center of the frame. And that's to hit it from 30 meters away. From 20 meters, I was able to aim pretty much dead on with the center of the target. So there's quite a bit of drop off between 20 meters and 30 meters.
So to recap, this blaster costs $89 US, and I'll put a link to it down below. Out of the box, it shot 100 feet per second, which is way too low for my taste, so I immediately upgraded it with a 10 kilogram long shot spring. There is a specific upgrade spring available for the S200 called a 1.6 spring, which should give similar results to what I got. After installing my upgrade spring, over the chrono it shot an average of 185 feet per second with a high of 197. That's very impressive for a pistol-sized blaster and competes with Dart Zone's full-size rifle blasters for velocity. Effective range with accurate shooting I'd say is about 20 meters. At 30 meters I had to aim pretty high into the tree above, which is hard to judge distance with compared to at 20 meters where I just aimed straight at the target. The magazine also only likes 36mm long darts, so I'd recommend either using bamboo darts from Dart Zone or the latest batches of worker darts where they've also swapped to 36mm. Another quick tip is don't fill the magazine past 9 shots if you want the slide to close itself after hitting the slide release. Aside from those small issues, overall it's a pretty impressive little pistol and definitely an improvement over the original, both in the looks department and in the ease of takedown with that split upper and lower design. I think it would be better if it was slightly easier to put back together though. Perhaps that's something to look at for the next model. And perhaps even an extended mag option wouldn't be too much of an ask. Anyone else want 20 shots instead of 10? Maybe just me because I want to use it as a primary.
Hi mate,
I think one went into your backpack.
Did it? Yeah, I can't find it. See if you can find it. Red medic!
Yeah, it's actually in your backpack.
Is it?
Yep.
Wow, no shit. There you go.
Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and here's 2 other videos you might enjoy. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.